I'm Shane Bigham. Chinese President Xi Jinping praised the historic contributions made by former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger to China-U.S. ties. The veteran diplomat who helped normalize ties with China in the 1970s is visiting Beijing. Xi Jinping says normalization of ties benefited both nations and changed the world. He says China will not forget an old friend who made historic contributions to China-U.S. relations and friendship between Chinese and American people. Kissinger says China-U.S. ties matter for peace and the progress of their societies. A gunman's killed 2 people in central Auckland on the eve of the Women's World Cup. Police confirmed that the gunman had also been killed. 6 others were injured in the incident on Thursday. The shooting took place near hotels where Norway and other teams have been staying. New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said there will be no changes to the national threat level after the incident.
Aucklanders and those watching around the world can be assured that the police have neutralised the threat and that they are not seeking anybody else in relation to the incident. New Zealanders' safety and the safety of our visitors is our first priorities.
Hipkins said the World Cup will proceed as planned. Russia says President Vladimir Putin will not meet his BRICS counterparts in person at next month's summit in South Africa. The decision averts a possible diplomatic dilemma. Dasha Chernashova explains.
The Kremlin has confirmed that Russian President Vladimir Putin will not go to South Africa for the BRICS summit next month. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Moscow will be represented by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Putin will join his counterparts from Brazil, India, China and South Africa via the video link. The Kremlin dismissed reports that Russia allegedly warned host nation South Africa that arresting Putin on an international warrant for war crimes would mean war. Peskov said that everyone understood without having it explained to them what an attempt to infringe on Putin's rights would mean.
The United States has announced a new $1.3 billion military aid package for Ukraine featuring air defense systems, drones, and munitions. Overall, the U.S. has sent over $40 billion in the form of security and military assistance to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia's called on other countries to condemn the decision by the U.S. to supply cluster munitions to Ukraine, saying it's once again escalated the conflict and will have serious humanitarian consequences. Ukraine earlier said the U.S. supplied cluster munitions would be put to use within days. A Reuters witness says hundreds of protesters set fire to Sweden's embassy in the Iraqi capital early Thursday. The move is said to be a protest against the planned burning of the Quran, the holy book of Islam, in Sweden. The Iraqi Foreign Ministry has condemned the incident in Baghdad, saying that the Iraqi government had instructed security forces to carry out a swift investigation. Japan's plan to release nuclear-contaminated water into the ocean continues to raise concern across Pacific Island nations. While some scientists say the move is safe, critics worry the discharge will harm the ocean and people's livelihoods. Greg Navarro has more.
Few people will argue there are questions about the safety of Japan's plan to release accumulated wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific, which is why the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the group that has approved the safety of the plant, traveled to the Pacific this month to meet with members of the Pacific Islands Forum, the body that represents 18 countries across the region. About 2.3 million people living in the Pacific Islands rely on the ocean for food and income. For instance, around half of the world's tuna supply comes from the region and is a vital economic resource, which is why many people say they can't afford any risks to the marine environment. Despite the opposition among some Pacific Island countries, it is unclear what options remain, if any, to prevent Japan from going ahead with its plan.
Extreme heat warnings are in effect across Europe as the continent's gripped by the most intense heat waves since records began. In Italy, red alerts were enforced on Wednesday in all but 4 of the country's 27 main metropolitan areas. In Spain, officials classified the heat wave in more than 30 districts in the southern and eastern parts of the country as extreme, the most severe of the 5 categories. Authorities in Greece issued health warnings for most of the country, warning residents and visitors against going outside during the hottest parts of the day, except for essential reasons. A small plane crashed in Colombia on Wednesday, killing 5 members of the Democratic Center Party along with the pilot. The victims included a former senator and ambassador of the country and the party's coordinator in the Meta region. And that's the news. I'm Shane Bigham.